They expressed their joy in the press. They said, oh, Telegram is now cooperating. All of a sudden, as if it was something new.
Can I ask you to pause? When they said that, I remember that very well.
Yeah.
That sounded to me like they were trying to discredit you and were sending the message, because they were not specific. They just said they're cooperating. And that made it sound to the rest of the world like, oh, they broke Pavel. They hung him by his ankles and burned him with gallows until he finally gave up and turned over the back end to them, and now they're spying on all Telegram users. You're cooperating like you would in East Germany in 1975. That's what it sounded like.
Yeah, that's why it's so important to clarify this, because this perception is not only bad for Telegram, it's even worse for the image of France. Because if you think about it, France is still a land where laws and legal procedures should be adhered to. And even in this case, if you want additional access to certain data, personal data, it has to be done in accordance with laws. And then every company, for example, us, we never disclosed private messaging data to any third party, including governments. And if it's in some country, they would say you have to do it, we would discontinue providing services in that country, then doing it.
Isn't that why you left Russia in the first place?
Yes.
So you've been through this. You left your own country because you refused to give up the privacy of the user.
Yeah. But here it's catching up, because last month, the Senate here in France passed a law basically banning encryption. This law was forcing all messaging app providers to implement the backdoor for the French law enforcement to fight crime. The problem here was...
Fight crime.
Well, exactly, because the problem here was there is no such thing as an exclusive backdoor. If you implement the backdoor, technically, other actors are able to exploit it. And it could be foreign agents, it could be hackers, it could be anyone. So that law would have put millions of people, or tens of millions of French citizens, in danger. Their private messages would have been exposed. The criminals, however, would have instantly switched to niche, smaller apps, not mainstream apps. And if the government would try to ban these apps, they would switch to VPNs. They would even become more efficient in hiding their traces. So the criminals would experience zero problems if that law is passed. It's the law-abiding citizens who would be affected. And that's why it's so problematic. And nobody was talking about it. I asked my French friends, like, have you heard about this law? No. They were completely unaware. And luckily, the National Assembly here in France shot that bill down. So it didn't pass this time. But if you look at the new project by the EU, by the European Commission, published in early April, they, again, want to do exactly that, to backdoor encryption, but now on the EU level. And that raises many serious questions, because no country in the world banned encryption so far, even the places that you would consider authoritarian places. For reasons that I just described, it's just a huge threat for the entire population.
For all users.
For all users to legally force companies to implement backdoors. So I think it's very important that people talk about these things.